Welcome to Proving Grounds. I'm Andrew, and today we're going to talk about Greta Thunberg. Now, is Greta, the Wicked Witch of the West, riding in on her magic broom looking to destroy all of Western culture, with her evil monkeys flying around, ripping apart all of modern society? Well, in a way, yes. At least she wants to be. She doesn't view herself in this way, but that's kind of the way she's acting. Yeah, I'm embellishing a little bit. But the fact remains that she has a certain way of viewing the world, and the ideas she's pushing, to me, are evil. I have no personal animosity towards her. She's just a girl. She's 16 years old. She believes what she says. I believe she wholeheartedly believes the things that she's saying. I don't care if her father is writing her speeches. I don't care if she's been indoctrinated into a certain worldview and hasn't matured enough yet to start really challenging those assumptions that she has based on life experience. She doesn't have any life experience. She probably has right now such a laser focus on this topic, she hasn't ventured out and even begun to explore the possible alternatives of life. Now, that being said, she is pushing this statist authoritarian agenda, right? It's got all these Marxist ideals of, well, we have to take control of everything, right? Because we have to save the planet. In order to save the planet for the greater good, right? For the greater good, you must reduce your carbon footprint. You must stop using these vile fossil fuels, because these fossil fuels are killing the planet. We're destroying this wonderful utopia of Earth. But is Earth this giant, vast utopia? Is it this precious little pearl in the ocean of space and time, and we're just destroying it? Well, the truth is, the planet isn't static, okay? Climate is always changing. So when they call this climate change, they call it that, so it's hard to argue. So people who are low information, seekers of knowledge, or low information voters, they hear these buzzwords and they go, oh, you can't say the climate doesn't change. I see it changing all the time. The argument isn't, does the climate change? The argument is, does mankind cause the climate to change? Are we causing the warming trend that we've been experiencing? Right? Does anyone have the answer? Well, they claim the consensus is that the belief, and I hate it when they say things like this, that scientists believe, based on what they think they know, that yes, it's all human beings. But of course, I don't see any real climate scientists coming out here and saying, I've been studying this for 40 years, standing next to Greta and backing her up. I'm not saying that human beings aren't exacerbating a natural phenomenon. I don't think anyone with half a brain would say that. What I am saying is I don't think that anyone really knows the true extent to which human beings are exacerbating a natural phenomenon. Since the last ice age, we've been seeing a warming trend in the climate. Because the climate isn't static, it's dynamic, right? And anyone who says the world is like this utopia that's pro-human life, it's just made there for us, ask someone who lives in the wild. Ask someone who lives in Montana what happens when the wolves get hungry, if they don't think wolves will eat them. Ask people who live in Africa, where lions will eat people. Or in Siberia, where tigers still occasionally eat people. Okay, when the wildlife around you gets really hungry, you are the easiest thing around to catch. They're going to get you, okay? Coyotes, wolves, bears, they don't care about you. They're not going, oh, whoa, that's a person. Human being, sacred life, stay away. No, what keeps them away? Game wardens show up and they shoot the bear. Yeah, they'll try to relocate it, but if it attacks and kills a person, they're going to shoot it. And that's my problem with Greta Thunberg's ideology, is she would have you believe that you must reduce fossil fuel emissions by 50% total worldwide within 12 years, or we're all dead. Okay, so let's say hypothetically she's right. So how do you stop 50% of all the world's fossil fuel emissions? All these energetic hydrocarbons being used to power all of modern society, all the technology that's used today to keep your life as easy and wealthy as it is, that make your children live as long as they live. Remember, like 150 years ago, the average person would see maybe 35. 50% of all children would be dead by the age of 10. You would live short, brutal, cruel lives. Now we're looking at what? 80, 90? You hit 80 without breaking a sweat, right? Certainly 65, 70, right? In modern society. Even in a culture where you can eat yourself to death. Think about that. We're rich enough to consume so much food that we can kill ourselves by eating too much. That's due to modern technology. Now, in order to do what Greta wants, we'd have to figure out, okay, who gets to keep the other 50% of the energy? Which countries are going to keep that energy? Who gets to use it? Who doesn't? Who decides? Does America and all the Western countries get together and try to destroy the rest of the planet, to commit genocide against everyone? Does China and Russia and America get together and do this? Does the UN decide which countries, which billions of people must die? Because that's what happens if you suddenly restrict the use of fossil fuels. Immediately, everyone will fight over them. That will be the World War III. Or let's say they don't fight over it. Then that means they're going to allow billions of people to die worldwide who currently need these fossil fuels to live. That means Africa, every country in Africa that's currently in Southeast Asia that's trying to industrialize will not industrialize because everything runs on fossil fuels. And before you go, whoa, machines run on electricity, not fossil fuels. Well, where do we get the electricity from? Because, dams only account for like 1%. Yeah, all the green energy solutions right now are like, 1%, maybe 2% of all energy production. Nuclear power, very small percentage. It's all fossil fuels. Okay, fossil fuels aren't just the energy source of the past and the present. It's the energy source of the foreseeable future. And it's that way partly because of these green energy movement people stepping in on the nuclear power. The only thing that comes close to fossil fuels is nuclear energy. And it is a very powerful source of energy. But it takes like 20 years to build a nuclear power plant in America now. Why? Because every time they even talk about it, the company trying to create it gets sued. You have to come up with all these impact studies. You have to fight in court. Everything, all these regulations, everything just drives up the price and the time and price and money, right? So now you took a product that was really extremely cheap and made it more expensive, not as competitive with fossil fuels. So it's easier to get, scale, and ship out these fossil fuels. And cheaper too. That's the only source of energy we have that's cheap enough and scalable enough for billions of people to be able to use it. I mean, that's the reality of the world. Now, people like Greta like to pretend like this world's this beautiful utopia and we're just destroying it. And the reality is, the Earth, in my opinion, is a very hostile place. Yeah, it's dynamic. It's always changing, but it's hostile to human life. Look at us. We don't have thick skin. We don't have a proper hide. We don't have much hair. We don't have big claws. We don't run particularly fast. We don't breathe underwater. We're not that well designed to compete with 99% of the animals out there. The only thing that we have that gives us an advantage is our mind. It's our ability to reason and come up, and really it's our ability of abstraction. It's our ability to come up with these abstract concepts and assign untold amounts of information to this abstract concept. Okay, the ability to devise plans, to make tools, learn through trial and error. I mean, develop tactics to work together. Yeah, some animals are communal and they have all these little tactics and stuff, but most of that's genetic. Okay, they inherit this knowledge through their DNA. They just instinctively know what to do. And a lot of their play is just refining their instincts, refining the skills that they're born with. Human beings aren't like that. We're a very time intensive creature, and it takes years to develop a proper human being. And we learn, and that's one of the great things about human beings is you learn from we learn from our forebears, and we build on that knowledge. And we're constantly building and learning and creating a world that isn't hostile to human life. Okay, yes, we have changed the world. You know, this myth that no other animals change their environment, I'm just going to throw one example out there. Beavers. They like swampy areas. So what do? They dam off a water supply, create a nice big swampy area, create their dens, they chew down trees. And, for some creatures, they destroy what was a great little habitat to create their own. We're going to leave that alone right there. Now you can say, oh, human beings scale that on a global level. But you have to remember, we're all over the planet, and we're creating a world that's sustainable to human life, that promotes human flourishing. So think about what would happen if we took all that technology away. I mean, look at the island of Manhattan. It was swampland, okay? The Indians that lived in the area probably laughed their asses off when the first colonists came over and traded it for pots and pans and some beads and shovels and whatnot. They're like, oh, we'll take your steel tools. Oh, copper pots. I'd much rather have that than have to, boil my food in a deer stomach. Oh, look at these idiots buying that swampland. They'll get sick and die soon. Now look at it. One of the most prime pieces of real estate on the entire planet. Why is it like that? Human ingenuity. People saw potential. Okay, someone with enough ingenuity and vision, and over time created, a small paradise on earth. All of modern society is like that. You created places where we can live, we can think, where our lives aren't short and brutal and cruel, where we're just hunting and gathering and subsistence farming, hoping for the best, hoping influenza doesn't kill off all your kids, hoping you have enough food to give them, maybe a little extra to make money for other things like medicines that might be needed. People want to talk about the horrors of climate change. Ask people who work on farms today the things that they go through, and ask them what and when it's family-run farms, ask them what their grandparents in the early 19th century went through. Broken toes, broken arms, broken bones. People set things on their own and kept on trucking because they may not have been able to afford a doctor or had enough goods to trade with one. So they did what they had to do. Look at pictures of people from the early 1900s, late 1800s, right? Right? These pictures of 16-year-olds. They look like they're 9,000 years old. 9,000 years of rough use. It's insane. And people want to put this little girl up front and use her to push these horrible ideas, these vile ideologies. I mean, this is, greater good argument once again. You must do without for everyone else. You must be concerned. Ruin your life and all of society so the human race can keep on going and not destroy the entire planet. And the assumption is that there's something we can do about it. So billions of people must die, whether right now or in the long term, to protect Mama Nature. Now, if it is a worldwide phenomenon that is just a normal warming trend of the Earth, are we just making something happen a little sooner? Like, can we stop Manhattan from becoming underground, from being sunk into the ocean? Is there anything we can do? Because in the short term, there really isn't, because no one is going to stop turning on the lights. No one's going to stop using all the different pieces of modern technology that require fossil fuels to develop. Remember, most of our technology now has some kind of plastic in it. Most of our clothes have plastic in it. That's petroleum products, which come from what? Fossil fuels. I mean, that's it. That's the only real game in town right now. And you're trying to tell me that we should allow people to die. I mean, what kind of death cult would demand you sacrifice your children's future. Again, Greta Thunberg, you're stealing my future. Yet she's demanding you do the same with your children or your grandchildren. I'm not going to say she's evil, because ultimately she's a kid. She's not old enough to have gone through enough life experience to really challenge these assumptions she's been given. But certainly her parents who are pushing this agenda onto her, they're evil. They don't care about you. They only care about the earth. They care more about the planet than they care about your life. Human life doesn't matter. You're just a virus to be eradicated because you're destroying this planet. And they point at companies like British Petroleum and say, well, they're evil for pushing this upon everybody. Oh, the humanity. Yet, most of the people who push these agendas are they completely carbon free? Do they live a life void of all petroleum products? Do they do they? No. The answer is no. But they want you to. Because once again, these are basically wannabe Marxists who want to control you. And the way they view the world is they're going to be the overlords living in the palatial mansions, surrounded by all the creature comforts of modern society. And you can be the poor, working, teeming masses of poor people, subsistence farming, dying in extreme heat, dying in extreme cold. Because, mind you, it's only until very recently that people have been able to control the climate in their own homes. I don't have such a negative worldview. Okay. Because you can look it up anywhere online on YouTube. Alex Epstein has done a lot of work in this area where he talks a lot about fossil fuels, and he promotes the positive outlook on fossil fuels, and actually has a book called The Moral Case of Fossil Fuels, which I would urge you to read. And I agree with him. I think the outlook is very positive. I think human beings are definitely ingenious enough to come up to solutions to problems that are going to arise due to warming trends in the climate. Okay, somewhere along the way, someone's going to develop a solution to some of the shrinking coastline issues. Someone's going to come up with a solution to current energy issues. Eventually, there will be another source of energy coming from somewhere. Someone's going to develop nuclear fusion reactors, which the greenies will definitely try to crush. Or they'll come up with some other ingenious way of harnessing some other phenomenon we're unaware of. Because human beings are ingenious, and somewhere out there is someone with enough ambition, drive, and vision, and freedom, which is a huge component, the main component to all new technologies, having the freedom to go their own way, to figure out, basically follow their passions. Let their passions drive them, and they will develop the new technologies that make the future modern society even better than today. But in the meantime, people need to use some common sense, okay? Because it makes absolutely no sense to kowtow to these people who want you to ruin your own life or give them any more play. Okay? No, Greta Thunberg isn't evil. She's not the Wicked Witch of the West. But her ideas suck. And if you happen to disagree with me, feel free to let me know. Say, Andrew, my man, you're an idiot. Obviously, the planet's just being destroyed because guys like you want to turn on the lights and drive your trucks and shoot your guns and, think all this stupid stuff. You've been indoctrinated by the evil Fox News and everything else. Tell me that. If you agree with me, let me know. Be like, hey, man, yeah, definitely. I agree with what you're saying. There's nothing we can do. We shouldn't worry about it. And eventually, proper other technologies will come around, and it's up to us to embrace or not embrace those technologies. And hopefully we keep the government out of it. Either way, click like, share, and subscribe, and have a good night. Be safe.